Hi, in this video, I'd like to discuss some of the most common trees that are useful to know how to draw. I apologize if I sniffle a little bit, I'm just getting over COVID here. So I got 8 trees here: elm, willow, spruce, oak, maple, birch, pine, and apple. I tried to do an elm here, but elms are too tall, so I had to draw it over here. So, these are some of the most common trees. I found a list of these trees in a watercolor book and thought it would be a pretty useful list to know. Probably the most useful tree in this list would be the pine, the single most useful tree. After that, knowing oak I would recommend knowing the oak, but good idea to know these trees as some basic trees, especially if you're interested in knowing how to do landscapes. So let's cover some of the characteristics of these trees. So elms are pretty tall. Branches go upward. Some trees, the branches kind of curve down like this. Elms don't really do that. Now the tree with the thickest trunk would be the oak, but aside from that, elms are maybe medium to slightly thicker trunked. Fairly tall. You can see they don't branch out quite as much. Somewhat circular trees, leaves here. Accidentally I colored the trunk here brown. I made a note, their trunks are actually a little bit more of a gray color. I tried to keep the color reasonably true to the actual tree. So with this willow here, this is a weeping willow. They have the leaves are like long strings that hang down from the branches, and I used both yellow and green because the image I had for a willow, the leaves were actually a real light yellow or light green, kind of a yellowish green. So that's why I used the two colors. So it's not necessarily just a yellow and a green, it's a light colored green. So their branches do sometimes head down. The branches are a bit irregularly shaped, I hope you can see that here. So sometimes they do curve down. They branch a little bit differently than the elm. See, these, when they branch, they head mostly up. These have a little bit more angle when they branch. Okay, so spruce. So spruce are pretty similar to pine, so it's good to compare them. I should mention that each of these trees has different varieties. Like, for example, the pine in this area has the ponderosa pine, which looks a bit different than this pine here. But there are also trees in northern regions that are more conical and look more like spruce. So it is a bit hard to choose a single tree as a type for these because there is so much variety, but I did try to pick a tree that was as characteristic as I could of the overall species. So all these drawings were done in marker, by the way. So spruce are generally conical. They often point up a little bit at the tips. You can't always see the trunk because the foliage is so dense. Okay, here's an oak. It's a rather squat tree and wide. Of all these trees, it's the shortest proportionally to its width. And you can see how the branching characteristics here. You can sometimes see through, and its foliage isn't so dense that you don't have little pockets where you can see the sky through it. Okay, here's a maple. Keep in mind maples are green most of the year, but they are well known for their color, so it was easy to find a image for them where they were in fall colors. Fairly round, a little bit narrow at the top. pretty dense. You can't see much of the branches through the foliage. Okay, birch. Like the elm, they're tall and lanky. The branching is a little bit different in this tree, but you know, it can vary from tree to tree, so not necessarily that much different. Like the elm, they have a light trunk. They're kind of like aspens in that they have a bit of black spots in their trunk. Which, if you're around here, aspens are also a good tree to practice. Here's the pine. I don't know actually what type of pine I chose. This seemed to be a fairly typical image when I was looking at images. Something like this. A lot of times they sweep downward, the branches and leaves. Narrow at the top. Sometimes a little bit narrower at the bottom where they get wider around here. Dark stems, and you can see little bits of trunk through the foliage. Okay, and apple trees. And shade that side a little bit. So little red dots representing the apples. So something to know about apple trees is naturally they will grow quite tall, but if they're grown for the apples, they're often trimmed yearly so that they grow wider, and that makes them easier to pick the fruit. So in an orchard, they will tend to be they won't tend to be as tall as they would grow if they were just left in the wild. I know this because my dad has some apple trees. So these are some basic trees: elm, willow, spruce, oak, maple, birch, pine, and apple. So if you think any other trees are very important to know, feel free to leave a comment feel free to leave a comment. Thanks for watching.